Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
To talk about today. I got the swinging gator on for all the fans that were asking about the swinging gator. Right here. Swinging gator. Well, if you hang on, we ain't brought you in yet, JC. If you missed it, baseball sweeps the Missouri Tigers. Cags hits his nation-leading 25th home run. Softball wins the series against the Ole Miss Rebels. JC, you're on the Titan MR hotline. How you doing?
Well, I want that swinging gator, but I went to the pro shop Friday. I saw Stewart there. I saw everybody there, old friends.
Did they tell you what I told you?
Yeah, they don't have. I mean, they had some cheap hats, black hats with the swinging gator. They didn't have anything I wanted, so I'm going online. I got to go online.
Or somebody that you know can take care of you. So just talk to that person that you know.
Okay, well, I also play golf with a guy that's got a blue relaxed fit swinging gator hat that he got because he's a huge booster for JC Deacon and the Florida Gator golf team. I'm going to make sure that I get in touch with him too. So I've got two guys that I think can help me out here.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to start with the draft because we had to do a tape program on Friday. Obviously, 6 Gators were taken in the draft. Anthony to first round to the Colts. Gervon Dexter went to the Bears in the second round. Osiris Torrance went in the second round of the Bills. Ventrell Miller to the Jags in the 4th round. Justin Shorter to the Buffalo Bills in the 5th. And Amari Burney, who wasn't even, I don't think he was invited to the combine, goes 6th to the Vegas Raiders. So any thoughts on the draft for the Mighty Gators?
Wasn't there also a guy that left the team that got on a team too, or was that as a free agent? Who was the kid
I just gave you the 6 guys that were drafted.
Okay, well,
and I'm sure we had 5 or 6 guys that signed free agent contracts.
Okay. Well, I would say
that's what I did. I didn't get drafted, and I had to sign a free agent contract.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's not important. I think. I like Ventrell Miller playing locally here with Jacksonville. That'll be fun to see how he does for the local team. And then, of course, we've got Anthony with the Colts. We talked about this the other day. You know, they're basing all their hopes on the come line, meaning they're hoping that it comes out and works out their way. But because it can't be with what he did in college, it's all about what his potential would be. You've said this before. I understand what the Colts are doing, but they're using a lot of draft capital on that hope. Of course, it's all about hope, right? But with Anthony, I think it's even more about hope because we didn't see much, in my opinion, and I think in most Gator fans' opinion during the season. But I'm rooting for him. I got my Colts hat on right here. They're thinking they can turn him into the next Jalen Hurts. And if he's the next Jalen Hurts, good for the Colts.
Joseph says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, Florida's the only team with at least 6 players drafted that finished with a losing record and unranked last season. Well, having said that, there's a reason. I mean, like you said, first round pick, very inconsistent. People can say what they want to say, but that's the facts. Dexter, very inconsistent. Make plays here and there, very inconsistent. Osiris Torrance is the best player that was drafted, in my opinion. He will last a long time in the National Football League.
I think Miller.
Well, Ventrell's got a lot of injuries. He's a little undersized. He'll be a guy that'll play 2 or 3 years. He's going to have to play special teams, but he's a very good football player. But injuries concern me with him. So that's my thoughts on that, Joseph, on the inconsistency and what have you. So. Dan says transfers like Jacob Copeland, Muhammad Diabate, Kareem Telford. I don't even know who the hell they is. They were drafted. I didn't even know they were drafted. So anyway, the draft to me, like I said, I don't follow it closely, but the winners of the draft I don't study it. I just look at who was picked are the Detroit Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles, hands down, in my opinion.
I think Houston, you can throw them in the bag. I think they got better. Houston Texans got
better.
Oh,
well, Houston did, yeah.
By moving up in the draft. And I think there were a lot of teams that definitely improved themselves, but there is no question what Philadelphia's turning into right now. They are going into the season clearly as the favorites in the NFC if they stay healthy. They have got probably the best offensive line I've seen in football in years. Their defense is is going to be completely upgraded with these Georgia Bulldogs running around all over the place. And then you've got the quarterback that you signed for the long term that got you there. So,
well, they traded for DeAndre Swift too, another Georgia Bulldog. I don't know if you saw the quote from Howie Roseman, their general manager. You know, he's a Gator, right, JC? You know that?
Yeah.
He graduated from the University of Florida, but he was on the phone. I saw it. It was all over Twitter. It's great. They showed him on the phone talking to Nolan Smith, and they recorded it. And Howie Roseman says, quote, "I'm a Florida Gator. Do you know how much this hurts my soul to take all these effing Georgia Bulldogs?" And then Nolan Smith responds, laughing, "Hell yeah, you want to win, though."
Yeah. Well, there you have it, isn't it? I mean, right now, Georgia is they're riding well. They're going well. I mean, those players they have, it's just an embarrassment of riches. It's the same thing with Alabama in the West. I mean, it's just crazy how many great players are coming out of those places going in the NFL, and it's really in many SEC schools. But Georgia, those are the ones we know about because we watch them win, and they certainly have the upper hand right now. And those players, look, they deserve what they get. They are great players. They've worked hard. They've been well coached. They haven't gotten themselves in a whole lot of trouble, although Jalen Carter had a little bit of an issue going into during the offseason, but he's worked that out now. And I think with Fletcher Cox and Jalen Carter and these guys that they have up front, they are going to be frightening. So it's a well-built squad that you got to give Nick Sirianni a lot of credit. We had no idea who that guy was when they hired him. I don't think they knew. The fans in Philadelphia had no idea, and now he's really turning into being one of the top names on the coaching ladder in the NFL.
Yeah, he's done a great job, but you got to
tip
your hat. It's all Howie Roseman. JC, I got a trivia question for you here.
Oh, okay.
Can you name? There's 3 schools that have had a player picked in every draft since the Common Draft era. I don't know when the Common Draft era started, but there's 3 schools that have had one player at least picked. Can you name those 3?
Well, I'm going to say Florida.
Florida's one.
I'm going to say LSU.
Nope.
Okay. Well,
they're not. No. Florida's the only SEC squad.
Oh, I'm sorry. For some reason, I assigned SEC to this question. That was wrong. Okay, I'm going to go with Southern Cal.
Correct.
And then I'm going to go with Oklahoma.
The Michigan Wolverines.
Okay, Michigan. All right.
Take that to your bank, folks. The only 3 schools to have a player picked in every draft: the Wolverines, the Trojans, and the Gators. I don't know if Florida State had a guy drafted. Not that matters, but
I don't either. Well, I've got one for you if you'd like to try. How about most 9+ win seasons since 1962? Just name 3 teams in the top 10. Most 9+ win seasons since 1962.
Since 1962?
62, yeah. And there's
Alabama's probably one of them.
They're one of them.
Ohio State.
Yeah.
How many teams are there?
I'm looking at there's a bunch. There's almost 15 of them.
Well, I'm not. I mean, we don't have time to sit here and have
just give me 3. You'll get it. I mean,
Nebraska.
Yeah, that's it. Nebraska, Alabama, Ohio State. You name the top 3.
Yeah, there you go.
Florida's in there. They're number 6, 9, 10. They're number 11 on that list. They've got 29 seasons of 9+ win seasons since 1962. And Nebraska, with 20 years of futility, has 48 seasons of 9+ wins since 1962. Isn't that crazy? I think that's crazy.
It is crazy.
Because in the last 20 years, Nebraska's disappeared off the map. And yet there they are at the top with 48 wins of 9 or more games since 1962. Wow.
At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with JC on the Titan More Hotline, we'll have Kevin Brockway from the Gainesville Sun get his thoughts on a lot of stuff. Here's my sleeper pick from the quarterbacks out of this year's draft.
All right.
Jake Heiner from Fresno. Man, he is a good player. Okay. He's a good quarterback.
Who got him?
The Saints.
Oh, and they've got Derek Carr starting right now, the Saints?
I guess. I couldn't tell you who calls plays for him, but Jake Heiner's a good player.
Yeah, so. I've heard his name. I have heard his name, QB. And since you're on this NFL kick this morning, how about this? Give me the only 2 starting quarterbacks in NFL history that have won a Super Bowl for 2 teams. There's only 2.
I didn't know today was Trivia Monday.
I just had to throw this out there.
All right, say that one more time.
Okay, there's only 2 quarterbacks. You'll get this. I think you'll get it. There's only 2 quarterbacks in NFL history that's won the Super Bowl for 2 teams. Who are those 2?
Well, one of them's Brady.
Of course. And
the other is Peyton Manning.
Yeah. And so Rodgers has a chance to do that with the Jets. He would be
the Jets.
Yeah,
Jets.
I kind of brought that up because I think the Jets are going to be a sleeper. You better keep your eye on.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
All right. Good defense, man. Good defense.
So we've had a bunch of people on Facebook Live, JC, want to know why you're not wearing your Boston Bruins hat today.
Look, I got to say this. I have no idea. I have no idea why I care so much. I have no idea why my hands get sweaty. I have no idea why my heart beats fast. I have no idea why I get very nervous and upset. I have no idea why I throw things when it comes to the Boston Bruins because I don't.
Well, they're just like the Yankees.
I don't live in Boston. I've never been a Boston Bruins season ticket holder. I've only seen them once in the last 3 years. I don't go watch them play in Tampa because they play usually on a Tuesday night or something like that. I have no idea. There's nothing that says you should be a Boston Bruins fan and you should be as passionate about them as you are mostly about everything else. And yet here I am, and I got literally sick last night and felt nauseous for an hour after watching that 3rd straight loss, which they haven't lost 3 games in the entire freaking season, and they lose to this average garbage Florida Panthers team that's going to go down in 5 games to Toronto. They call that the gentleman's sweep. And Toronto's going to now cruise on into the finals of the Eastern Conference. And how about the Colorado Avalanche last night, the defending Stanley Cup champions, losing to a team that's been in existence for literally now 2 seasons in the Seattle Kraken. How about that? 2 teams at home in Game 7 losing by 1 goal. And Boston it's a sickening thing because nobody's going to give a shit about their season. They're only going to talk about the choke in 7 to the awful Florida Panthers, who they finished 43 points. 43 points ahead of Florida in the standings, and they lose in a 7-game series. It's the first time in the entire season they lost 3 games, and I give a crap. And it makes me mad that I care.
I don't know why you care. They're from Boston.
I just said that. I don't know why. I love them. I love them. And, I got nasty, miserable fans making fun of me on the text phone last night. And so friends, or rather, I guess they're friends. I don't even know if they're friends. See, now you got me all shaky.
I mean, it's sports, JC. It's sports. That's why they keep score. That's why they keep score. All right, we got a million texts here on the Titan MR text line. I'm gonna try to get to some of them real quick. Andy says, "Do you think Stetson Bennett landed in the best place possible, higher than most expected in round 4 to the Rams with Stafford?" You got 2 dogs there. I'm sure they're buddies. I don't know if Stetson Bennett will ever play it down in the National Football League. I think he's a really good player. I've said it for many, many years. I loved him. But yeah, if you say it's a good play, like I said, he'll never start a game. I'm gonna go on record there. Josh from Mississippi says, "I think Florida's defense will shock the country next year by being a top 30 defense. A couple of players have mentioned to watch out for them. What are your thoughts now that the roster's flipped, talent upgraded, and having a more aggressive DC?" Josh, appreciate the text. I can't really respond to that until we play a damn game. I'll let you know. Listen to the broadcast. I'll let you know how the defense is doing against Utah.
Yeah.
I'm
looking forward to that trip.
This is Chris from Mayaka on the Titan MR text line. Congrats to Anthony and landing in Indy at number 4. This might be the best thing for him. Same coach and system that Jalen Hurts flourished in. Remember, Hurts couldn't complete a forward pass at Bama either.
That's the truth.
There's a difference there. That is true, but there's a difference. Hurts played for his dad. He's been in a football family his whole life. Did you notice that? Did you know that Will Levis has had a different girl under his arm every time he was shown on camera? Laugh out loud. Well, one was his sister, one was his mom, and one was his girlfriend.
Well, there was a couple, though. There was a well, never mind. Yeah, there. Go Will. Who's he with again? He
went to the Titans.
The Tennessee. Yeah, good. I think that's a good pick for Tennessee. I don't know how it will work out, but it's all about hope, right? It's hope. Hope is a good thing. Watch the Shawshank Redemption if you want to learn about hope.
Dan says on Facebook Live, JC, put your Dallas Stars hat on. Are they still?
That's playing? Right. I'm coming with them. They're playing Tuesday night against Seattle Kraken, and my wife is a passionate Dallas Stars fan as much as I'm a Bruins fan, and she will be. And we're thinking about Game 5 already. Going to Dallas on American Airlines nonstop, back and forth, 2-day trip. And go and watch Game 5.
Sounds terrible.
Oh, it's going to be fabulous. I can't wait. Now, Dallas is, a very quiet team that's making big noise. They won in 5 games, or 6 games rather, in their series against Minnesota. Dallas is very excited about the Stars because the Avs are gone. The Avs are gone. And right now, I think you have to look at Dallas and Vegas in the West. We'll see, though.
All right, we got another text on the Titan More text line from Philip in Enterprise, Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
He says, good morning, guys. How long do you think the general manager in Indy keeps his job?
Yeah. Well, by the way, Enterprise is home of the Boll Weevil Monument in Alabama. The Boll Weevil ate all the cotton, as we know. All right. So, Anthony, I don't think
I don't think he starts.
I'm not.
Gardner Minshew is going to be the starter.
Gardner Minshew. Okay. I don't know. It's totally unknown. They are really going out on a limb, the Colts, and they used they paid an expensive price for him. It can either work out remarkably well, or it could be a flaming disaster. And we've had flaming disasters in the draft. Jamarcus Russell, it just comes to mind, and there's a bunch of them. Who's the Achilles Smith, for the Bengals? But I don't want to ever cast aspersions that Anthony would end up like any of those guys. The game is different today. It requires a quarterback, it feels like, that can really run, and so and get out of trouble.
But that people see that, but it's not true.
But
the best players. I'll give you the best players in the league. They're throwers. Mahomes, Burrow, Stafford.
Yeah.
Herbert,
you're right. But
Trevor Lawrence.
Right, but look at the running ability of Watson and Jackson and Hurts.
We talked about this the other day. You're talking about the highest paid players that don't win.
I know, but they're the highest paid, and that's where the game seems to be going.
Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert are getting ready to surpass all those guys in money when their contracts come up.
Oh my God! Well, the Ravens caved. And they kept Lamar. And I think, to my knowledge, somebody can correct me, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. He's got 1 playoff win.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right on that. So,
and it was a lucky win as a wild card against Tennessee. And when he played at home as the favorite against the Chargers and somebody else, they had trouble getting first downs in the playoffs. It was unbelievable. I'd never seen anything like it. Philip Rivers.
Forward pass, JC. It's the forward pass is key in the National Football League. Well, forward pass.
That's right. The Colts have had 2 really great forward passers in their history, and they're going just the other way now. It's incredible how Irsay, who, by the way, said that if he had the first pick, it would have been Anthony. Think about that. They really buying in. Irsay and the Colts love this guy, and really, when you're coming off Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning as the 2 most prolific passers, other than Johnny freaking Unitas and Burt Jones in your franchise history. Remember Burt Jones? He was a great passer. Yeah. But Anthony does not sit in the same room as Johnny Unitas, Burt Jones, and the other 2, Luck and Manning. So they're completely. That's why I think they think the game has totally changed the way it's being played offensively. But I don't disagree with you. Passing is, you can't win without it.
Passing is key. JC, let's get to this day in sports. We haven't done one of those in quite some time. Are you interested in today's this day in sports?
Well, I am, but I'm really interested in what happened at the Mexico Open as
Well,
well.
we're going to talk about that after this. At Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Summer is on the way, JC. When was the last time your AC was tuned up? The time is now before the summer heat waves kick in. Call Comfort Temp at 352-376-2366. Have you got your AC tuned up yet?
Yeah, I have. Yes,
okay. Well, in 2021 at the 147th Kentucky Derby, which is Saturday.
Yeah.
Medina Spirit gave Bob Baffert a record 7th victory in the Kentucky Derby. So I don't know who's favored. Maybe we'll have some Kentucky Derby talk later in the week. Get somebody from Ocala that trains some horse that's going to be running.
Yeah, I mean, I think that along with auto racing may be two sports that I am about as ignorant on as a magnolia tree. I couldn't tell you.
Don't. What's wrong with the magnolia tree? That's the state flower of Mississippi.
That's right. I got one right here. By the way, you see these two names right here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, hell, you pick the two most well-known, highly ranked golfers in the damn field. Okay.
First and second. Now that's called money. That's called money.
Well, here's the thing. If you were actually betting on those people to win the tournament, don't you think they would have been like minus 800 on the money line?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's how golf works. I don't think you have huge favorites in golf because there's so many players. But
there was nobody else within the top 400 in the world that played.
But Tony Finau, is a guy that I think has now gotten 6 wins in the last. He's won multiple times in the last 12 months, 4 times, I think, as John Rahm has. And Tony Finau was a guy that couldn't get across the finish line before he won his first one here about a little less than a year ago. And now he's off to the races. That's the name. The reason I bring it up is that's the name that you should keep your eye on in the PGA upcoming because
this week is amazing. A really good tournament in Charlotte at Quail Hollow.
Yeah, it's one of their big ones that are not major.
It's a hard golf course, which I love. I'll be tuning in. We got a Facebook Live brought to you by Meldon Law from Lamont. Lamont says mint juleps are terrible. Are you a mint julep guy at the Derby, JC?
I'm not a Derby guy. I'm not a horse.
That's right. Yeah, I'd love to see you in like a seersucker suit with a hat.
I went to Keeneland. I went to Keeneland in Lexington, Kentucky, which is right by the airport. When you land in Lexington, the horse track is literally as you leave the airport. It's a big deal for those folks in Lexington, Keeneland. If you ever get a chance to go watch the Kentucky Wildcats play the Gators, if you have some time, go to Keeneland. But that's about the extent of my horse racing experience right there.
All right, so you won the Peachland Dental Contest by Lance. Who did I pick anyway? I don't even know who I picked.
Well, you had Gary Woodland, which was not a bad pick. You had Gary Woodland. I didn't even write down the other two because I knew I was going to win. But you did take Gary Woodland. Good job. But for those,
I took the former Kansas basketball player instead.
Well,
we'll whip y'all's butt. Gary Woodland would whip y'all's butt in horse. I can promise you that.
He's a great player, and he'll be a factor in the PGA as well. I'm telling you, you're right. You got the Wells Fargo. Then they do the one in, I think it's in Texas at the Woodlands, and then I'll
tell you right now.
Yeah,
I got my golf schedule picked up. Right.
Go to New York.
We got. They got the Wells Fargo at Quail Hollow in Charlotte. Then they go to the AT&T Byron Nelson.
Oh, Byron.
One of your favorite courses where you can land airplanes on. They'll shoot 29 under par there.
Craig's Ranch.
And then the PGA. Place. Oh, the PGA's at Oak Hill Country Club.
Rochester, New York. That's excellent. And you remember they changed up the schedule because the next major after the Masters was typically the U.S. Open in June. They've basically front loaded May, June, and July with majors instead of waiting until August. So that's how it works.
We got a text here on the Titan MR text line from William. William says, "What did y'all think of the Jaguars draft?" I'll be honest with you. I know they took a tackle in the first round from Oklahoma. Know nothing about him.
I don't either.
And then they took Ventrell Miller. I'm going to have JP Shadrick on from the Jaguar online network. He works for the
Yeah.
Jags. He'll give us a
Yeah.
recap of that tomorrow. But
Here's what I don't.
that's one of your teams, JC. One of
Yeah,
your many teams.
and I'm not completely, but I'm somewhat disappointed that that Mayer from Notre Dame or Dalton Kincaid, who was available to them when it was their turn to pick, could have been a Jaguar, and they traded both their pick, 25th and 26th. They traded their pick away, and Dalton Kincaid would be a Jaguar today if they didn't trade that pick away. And I'm just surprised that Doug would do that, even though they did pick up some tight end somewhere. I think I think that's a spot where they could have used some help, and I think Dalton Kincaid would have been a great pick, or the kid from Notre Dame would have been a great pick. Dallas did the same thing. Dalton Schultz is leaving, and Dallas doesn't get a tight end on their first pick. So I think tight ends have a role in offenses that win. Look at what Philadelphia does. Look at what Tom Brady did his whole career with a tight end. It could be used to be look at Kelsey. My God, everywhere Mahomes goes, Kelsey's right there next to him. Tight ends have a role to win in Super Bowls, and for some reason, I think the Jaguars and the Cowboys blew it when they could have gotten the kid from Notre Dame who is a beast, or Dalton Kincaid, who we all know at Utah was one of the best tight ends we've ever seen. And
Tony says the Penn State tight end will be just fine in Jax, and Tony knows the Jaguars inside and out. He's like an insider.
I'm rooting for you, Tony. Tony, I hope you're right, buddy, because as good as that guy was at Penn State, we didn't hear about him like we heard about Dalton Kincaid and the kid from Notre Dame. But I hope you're right. I hope the kid from Penn State works out, and if he does, good for the Jags.
Chris on the Titan More text line wants to know, why did the Dolphins forfeit their pick? I know nothing about this.
I don't either.
I was going to ask you. I couldn't tell you one player. Like I said, I don't follow the draft. One player that the Dolphins or the Buccaneers drafted.
Yeah, and I watched Tampa take their guy, and I still don't know what his name is. I forgot his name already. It was late in the night, man. It was like 12 o'clock at night. It was midnight, and they picked him. Yeah. Who was Luke Van Ness, by the way? Who was that guy? Do you know who that guy is?
Never heard of him.
And he was a first round pick to the Packers, and they picked 13th in the first round, and they picked Luke Van Ness. Couldn't tell you who is this. So some of these guys make headlines when they have their pro day and they have exciting combines, and for some reason, like Belichick, he traded up to get a guy I'd never heard of. And yet,
Belichick, I read somewhere, and I don't know if they were joking, that he drafted a punter and a kicker.
I mean, he took a cornerback. That's right. Belichick took the Oregon Duck cornerback, and he moved up in front of the Jets. I heard there was a big stink about it in New York to try to screw the Jets out of the guy that they wanted, knowing that somebody else would take that guy if the Jets didn't get him because of something. And anyway, long story short is that some of these guys that got drafted the first round are just like head scratchers, including the guy that went here. But at any rate, I think most teams really improved themselves, and I hope this kid from Penn State works out in Jacksonville. Jacksonville is going to.
You're worried about a damn tight end. Who cares, JC? They have Evan Ingram.
Okay, you're right. I get it. But what's his? How long does he last? I mean, he's been bouncing around. He's had injury issues, but he played great in the postseason last year. He's a very good player. So I guess you're right. And maybe I'm overreacting about this tight end issue, but I just thought Dalton Kincaid was too good to pass up, and they passed up on him. But at any rate, listen, Jacksonville, look at their schedule. The Chiefs, the Bengals, the 49ers, the Ravens.
The Colts, the Texans.
True. Okay, the Titans, that's right. Their division is weak, but their out-of-division schedule is murder. And so I think they're going to have to score points if they're going to win. And I'm praying they do, because I'm a season ticket holder.
They do. I mean, I think Doug Peterson is good as anybody calling
Duval. So yeah, Doug Peterson is. He's a winner, proven winner.
Are you being a Jaguar? What is
that? The Jaguars, they pounce and they run at you and they grab you and stick you in the tree and eat you and all that.
I guess.
You don't know your wildlife, bro. Come on.
All right, JC. We're going to get to Kevin Brockway here, get his thoughts on a lot of things.
That's good. I like Kevin. Kevin's my man. He's a big Miami Hurricane guy, but we forgive him because they're irrelevant. But we love Kevin. We do. We love Kevin. So I'm looking forward to this.
All right. That's JC. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Take a quick timeout. And we'll be joined by Kevin Brockway from the Gainesville Sun. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi, this is Steve Spurrier, former head ball coach of our Florida Gators. Business is booming at our restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. So we're looking to hire 3 top quality front of the house managers and assistant managers. Restaurant talent acquisition is like building a championship football dynasty, and I'm recruiting great people to join our newest team. Thanks to the overwhelming support of people here in Gainesville, the Gator Nation, and fans of all the teams, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill is one of the busiest restaurants in the state. And with our weekend brunch buffet and our takeout options coming soon, we're looking to add a few new restaurant leaders. Everyone knows a coach sometimes is about as good as all of his talent, his players, and his assistant coaches. And if you have a restaurant management experience and are looking to work in a fast-paced, fun environment, then go to www.spurriers.com and apply today. Thank you, and go Gators.
Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate. With premium brands like Nike International, Diamond Center, Dave & Buster's, Bass Pro Shop, Regal Cinemas, Prime and Pearl, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. Let's go ahead to the Titan MR hotline one more time, and we're joined by Gainesville Sun's Kevin Brockway. Good morning, Kevin. How you doing, my man?
Good morning. How are you, Shane?
I'm doing well. I wanted to get you on, ask your thoughts on a lot of things. First, let's real briefly, let's talk about Gator basketball. I had Chris Harry on a couple weeks ago. Do you like what they've done so far in the transfer portal?
Yes, I like that they've added some size and physicality. I think that was much needed, as he said at the end of the year, with regards to just some of the rebounding, and obviously when they lost Castleton, a little bit of the rim protection too. But you bring in a guy like Tyrese Samuel, who's played in a proven conference at Seton Hall, and some of the Big East people that I talked to I think that he's a very sound, very strong player in the post, and athletic player, and he's obviously improved every year. And then Micah Hangolden, who's 7'1", who can maybe take that Castleton role in terms of defense and shot blocking, and is a pretty good rebounder too. So I like that. EJ Jarvis is a little bit of a stretch 4, and Walter Clayton is a guy, combo guard, who I think has a lot of potential. And, the thing they really missed last year was, a scoring type point guard. And I think that, Walter Clayton certainly has that potential, 43% from 3, 95% from the foul line. I mean, this guy can really just flat out shoot it. We'll see how it translates at the next level from Iona, where he's MAC Player of the Year. But he did do pretty well against UConn in that NCAA tournament game, and UConn ended up winning the national championship. So I think he checks a lot of boxes, and he's a local guy, right? He's an in-state guy from Haines City. He knew Jervon Dexter really well, so he's a guy who I think really wants to be a Gator. I guess Dan Mullen recruited him for football too, so he's got a little toughness to him. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him play.
All right. Well, let's jump into the National Football League. Obviously, you're a Jets fan, so you had to. I assume you're thrilled having Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. I think the Jets have a chance now with him at that position. What did you think about the Jets draft?
Well, it came at a little bit of a price, right? Because they had to swap down to 15 and they didn't get the tackles that they wanted. If you remember, they all went off the board. So they took a chance on the edge rusher, Will McDonald, and that's a position, obviously, of strength for them. So it was a little perplexing. But at the same time, I guess you say you can never have too many edge rushers. Maybe you dangle, Carl Lawson in a trade, maybe, possibly, and try to get some offensive line help. Because they're banking on Mike. They're banking on Becton returning healthy, and I'm not sure if that's a gamble worth taking. One of the tackles, but Max Mitchell, a guy who played under Billy Napier at Louisiana, is another guy there that has done a pretty good job. But yeah, I'm very excited about Aaron Rodgers. I'm excited about what they're doing and what they're building around him offensively, and I think obviously they showed last year they had an elite defense. Just need the offense to go with it.
There's a message on Facebook Live brought to you by Metal Law for you, Kevin, from a former Buchholz Bobcat that says, "When I come to town, let's go to lunch at Spurrier's in our Canes gear." Lamar Thomas.
How about that? You guys coached together, right?
We did. I don't call him Lamar. I call him Lamont Thomas, because that's what Coach Spurrier called him. So I call him Lamont all the time.
He's great. Love Lamar, and it's amazing to think back in the day. It was 30 years. I'm coming up on 30 years on my college graduation. I used to write about Lamar in the student paper all the time.
Yeah, that's right. 30 years ago, no doubt about it. When you look at the NFL at this draft, which teams do you think had the best draft in your opinion?
Well, I kind of like what the Buffalo Bills did for sure. In terms of getting a guy like Osiris Torrance in the second round. I thought that was pretty solid. And you can't go too wrong with what Houston did. Picking those, getting 2 and 3 for example. I thought that was kind of a bold move to trade up and get those guys, but. Certainly, I think CJ Stroud is an interesting guy, Shane, and I'm curious what you think about him because, the trend, right, is mobility, and Anthony Richardson went for the Colts as a dual threat, but CJ Stroud is a guy that certainly when you look at what he did against Georgia, which is an elite college defense, and able to, certainly read defenses and process information. He's pretty strong. He's pretty polished in that area, and he's got some size to him. So, of course, he did play in the Big Ten. It wasn't the SEC. So, well, what are your thoughts on that, Shane?
Out of all the quarterbacks that come out of Ohio State in recent years, he's by far the best, in my opinion. I think he's way better than Justin Fields when it comes to throwing the football. I think he's an elite thrower. I think it was a good move by Houston. I don't know what his mobility is. I don't really care because I just told JC, people think that the game has gone to these dual threat guys in the National Football League. They really haven't. Now, the highest paid guys in the National Football League are dual threat guys, but the ones that win games are the Mahomes, Burrow, Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. You got to throw the football. Now, having a little bit of running ability helps, but I'm a firm believer that you have to throw the football to win in that league. So I think Houston, now I don't know how many games they're going to win because I don't think they're a very good football team, but you got to like what they did in the draft. And they went and got Will Anderson. He's a difference maker. So that whole, the AFC South has always kind of been boring, I think, for fans, unless you're a fan of one of those teams. And obviously people in this area love the Jags, but with Trevor Lawrence, the year they had last year with Doug Peterson, I think they're the clear-cut favorite to win that league, that division, because now you got the Colts, who I think, they'll probably start the year with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, unless Anthony blows them away in training camp. And then you got C.J. Stroud, and then I assume Tannehill's still the quarterback, but the Titans, who knows? But anyway, I didn't really answer your question, but I do like C.J. Stroud a lot.
Yeah, and like you said, that's it's going to be interesting to see how the Colts handle Anthony. And it would, I had an inkling with the Colts with him because the Colts scouts were at all of the games this year at the Swamp, and you know how it is. It takes one team to fall in love with you, and it seemed like the Colts were really from the beginning and from when they watched the athletic ability, they were really enamored with Anthony Richardson. Now we'll see if it translates, but I agree with you. You don't rush that kid. You just let him learn. He needs time, I think, to grasp, and offense and so forth, and give him at least half a season or 3/4 of a season, and then roll with Minshew, and then wait until he's completely ready.
This is a text on the Titan More text line from Jonathan. He says this is for Kevin. His Miami Hurricanes, I believe, only had one player drafted. Thoughts on the program?
Yeah, it's in a rough spot, but Mario is another guy who's classmates with Lamar Thomas and me, and I think that he's gonna. I do think that you take a look at those Oregon teams and how many Oregon players were taken in the draft, and a lot of those guys were recruited by Mario. So I think it's you got to give him time, but I think he'll he and his staff have an eye for talent. They're pretty good recruiters, so I think in a few years they can hopefully build the thing back up. And it's going to be curious to see, it's the ACC is a conference where you can do it a little quicker than the SEC. I mean, you take a look at what Florida State's done in 3 years under Norville. So I think there's a chance there, but he's got to keep, he's got to be able to recruit really well. And I mean, you saw what happened with Carmani McLean. You think you have him, and then he goes up with Dion to Colorado. But it's a tough recruiting environment, but hopefully he can, piece things together and continue to get quality players, especially on both lines of scrimmage. I think they have a toughness problem there. That's their biggest problem, is that the lack of physicality up front on both lines of scrimmage isn't what it used to be, and that's been Miami football for a number of years.
Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mental Law. He says Miami had 3 players drafted, Florida State 1, UCF none. Okay, my bad. This text just said they only had 1, so I don't really know the answer to that. But I'll go with Joseph because he probably watched the draft from day one until it ended. I wanted to get your thoughts because I have all kinds of thoughts for you, Kevin, because you watch all kinds of sports. But I've been a big fan of Jeff Brom.
Yes.
Jeff Brom is now going to be the head coach of Louisville. And what was interesting the other day, I don't know where I read it, but everybody is expecting Florida State to compete with Clemson for the ACC championship. I think Clemson's still going to win it easily. I think they're way better than Florida State. But everybody said, look out for the Louisville Cardinals. And is that because of Jeff Brom and the way he calls plays?
Yeah, you would think so, because they lost their quarterback, Malik Cunningham. But the thing that I liked about Jeff, in my years covering him in Purdue, was what you said, the offense and his ability to create mismatches in the passing game. And I think as he, progressed in Purdue too, though, he became a better program builder too. I think that was the big knock on Jeff, was the fact that, the defense and the special teams, the attention to detail wasn't there on that side of the ball in particular. And he would lose Big Ten games because of that. But you saw by the end, a lot more of a complete team. And you look at the NFL draft this year, Purdue had quite a few players taken, Corey Trice and Jalen Graham on the defensive side.
The walk-on quarterback got selected.
Aiden O'Connell, who's a great story. I did a story on him in Lindy's magazine last year. Kid that really rose up from being 8th on the depth chart, to a guy who, and Shane, a thing or two about that, rising up on the depth chart. And he was able to do that and contribute. And he had a little bit of a tragedy too, and his, brother passing away this year. So it's great for him, and he's a great story. I think Jeff he's gonna do really good things at Louisville, but first year it's really dicey. For every Sonny Dykes, there's a Billy Napier, and in terms of, the adjustment period. It doesn't always work out when you're trying to implement your system, but I'm sure by year 2 or year 3, Jeff will have it going at that program. And, he's at his alma mater. He's at a place he loves. He recruits the city of Louisville really well. So I'm sure that's, not going to change. And he's going to get people that are going to be in there and fit his system, and an exciting brand of offense that kids are going to want to play for.
Rose Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Speaking with Kevin Brockway of the Gainesville Sun on the Titan Moore Hotline. All right, I've got a bunch of texts here, and they're all about Kevin's prediction. And here we are on May 1st of what you expect out of the Gator football team. Give me your thoughts. I'll tell you where I sit on May 1st with the Gator football team. I want to hear what Kevin has to say.
Yeah, I think 7 or 8 wins would be, I think, a reasonable expectation. And if you can get there, I think that would be an accomplishment. I don't see this as being the huge turnaround season for Billy Napier because I just don't know if the talent is there based on what I saw in the orange and blue game. I mean, there's talent on defense, I think, and I think the defense will be improved under Austin Armstrong, but I'm worried about the offense taking a step back based on what I saw. Now, listen, they could surprise, you never know, but I think that right now it's still in a kind of a building stage, and it's going to be a younger team this year than last year, and I think with that youth will probably come some more growing pains.
Yeah, I think they win 8 games. I really do. I'm not buying into the schedule being that hard. I think there's 2 games on the schedule that I look at right now, and I'm like, I don't think we can win those, and that's Georgia and LSU. All the other ones, I think we can win every one of them. We got a text here in the Titan Mar text line, and I'm going to comment. This is a good one. He says, this is from Charles. He says, we had 3 defensive players selected in the draft, 6 overall. FSU, I think, had 1 player drafted, yet they beat us. Looks like we had more NFL talent than teams we lost to. Our defense last year was terrible. I respect your take on things. If you feel like it, would you give me your take on our record versus our talent? I heard you say many times this was not an SEC roster. What gives? Charles, appreciate it. That's outstanding text. I did not think it was a top-notch SEC. Just because you get drafted, first of all, doesn't mean these guys are going to make the team, okay? If you get drafted in the first 4 rounds, you probably make the team, or in 5th or 6th, it's close. You may last a year or 2. But as I said earlier, A-Rod, everybody falls in love with the splash plays. Not consistent enough for me. Will that change? We shall see. That has a lot to do with why you only won 6 games last year. Dexter has the size, can run for a big guy. Very inconsistent, got blown off the ball multiple times. They're drafting him on potential. Osiris Torrance, who got drafted in the 2nd round, he will last a long time in the National Football League. Excellent football player. Ventrell Miller, excellent college football player, tons of injuries. If he can stay healthy, he can last a while in the NFL. And then Shorter was drafted, and Bernie. They're just guys to me. They didn't make enough plays. So to answer your question, Florida State beat the Gators last year because they had the best player on the field in Jordan Travis. I think he's a really good college quarterback, but he's the reason they won. So you want to chime in on that? I thought it was a tremendous text by Charles.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that when you used to address the front 7 too, and the number of players that got drafted in the front 7. But you're right. I mean, I think it's upside potential. Let's not forget too, Ventrell Miller was playing through a pretty serious injury last year, but so he was not 100% during the course of the season. So again, you're drafting on upside. I kind of believe with you, and with FSU, I do think and Justin Shorter was hurt in the FSU game. He didn't even play. So, they were, and they were down to what? They had 1 quality receiver in that game, Ricky Pearsall. I mean, that was as big a reason as anybody. Anthony went 9 of 27. He missed some throws too, but quite a few drops in that game as well. And they were in a shootout with them. But I do think that, there's a lot of quality players that they had on the roster, but they weren't necessarily all healthy and all together at the same time.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, I think the Gators win a minimum of 8 games next year. I didn't watch the spring game. I don't care about the spring game. I'm just going on. I feel like they will be way more consistent on the offensive side of the ball, and they can't get any worse on defense. So you put that together, I think they can win 8 games. A lot of people are chiming in on FSU. A lot of their guys stayed. They'll have multiple people drafted next year. So we'll see. I don't follow their roster.
You do have
Kevin. Go ahead.
For that, in terms of whether that's a winnable game or not. I'd be a little concerned about Utah too, Shane. I don't know. I think going there with Cameron Rising back, I mean, that's going to be a
Well,
tough.
do we know if he's going to be healthy and able to play?
Yep, that's true too. That's a good point.
Coming off an ACL, which happened in January, right? When they in the Rose Bowl.
Yep.
So
they didn't get paid, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, Utah's not going to be easy, but look, we're not going to lose to Vanderbilt again. I'm not buying any more Kentucky hype. And I know we lost to them last year, but we pretty much dominated the game at most part. That's turnovers it cost us. Tennessee is going to be good. I think Heupel calls a good game. But again, you're going to be playing either Joe Milton or the Lamaleva kid.
Yep.
And I can promise you they're not going to play as well as Hendon Hooker. Joe Milton, I've watched him play enough. I hope Joe Milton's the quarterback. I don't think he's worth a damn. If you want somebody that can throw it through through the car window, or through your wall, 100 miles an hour, Joe Milton's your guy.
Yep.
But I just don't think he plays consistent football to be a good quarterback. So South Carolina, we hammered them last year. Doesn't mean a damn thing. What happened last year does not mean anything in this year's game. But I called South Carolina in the Gator Bowl against Notre Dame. I was like, this is a bad football team. And they looked really bad against us, and then they turned it around and beat some really good teams. So I don't know. Maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I just think we will be a lot better football team and more consistent next year in year 2 under Billy Napier. So
what about
we'll see.
In the Missouri game on the road in the cold weather? That's going to be an
Well,
interest.
yeah, I mean that's one of the worst places. I've only been there once, and that was to broadcast the game 2 years ago. I was shocked at how boring it was just being at that game. It's hard to get the juices flowing the same way at Vanderbilt, but we'll see. But I'm on record. It was a month ago, and I'm sticking with it that the Gators win at least 8 games this year. Kevin, let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter and read all your stuff at the Gainesvillle Sun.
Yeah, at Kevin Brockway G1 on Twitter, and Gatorsports.com and Gainesville.com. Thanks for having me on, Shane.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. That's Kevin Brockway joining us on the Titan MR hotline. Make sure you tell all your friends and family to follow our programs on all the different outlets out there. Tomorrow we'll have Buddy Martin, and then we'll have JP Shadrick breaking down the Jaguars draft class. If you got any of your Jaguar questions, make sure you shoot them to us tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Like I said, we're back going live every day now. No more tape shows unless I have a meeting or something, but I don't see that happening now. But we appreciate you chiming in and being part of the program. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.